All right, welcome to the episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey. We have our co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
How are you feeling, man? I know you're not feeling so hot. So you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm still nursing the ATV flip over a mountain into a hole in the beach.
We might have to talk about that on today's episode, but we're glad you're okay, Dan. So I went up to Oregon to meet with Dan and Smith. That was the partners on the Liftoff Agent side that sponsors our podcast. But before we actually intro who our guest is today, I want to encourage everyone, please like the episode, subscribe. Hey, down below, what did you learn from the episode? As it is our intention for you to learn things from our podcast episodes to apply to your business, have more success. Maybe there's some paths that you want to go down from some guests that we've had that really strikes a chord for you. So for today, I got an individual. We were following each other. I never went deep with them. I'm excited to go deeper today with them. He had a live. I was watching it. He invited me. We went to his live on Liftoff Agent side, and he was just such a nice, kind-hearted person. Talk about your true, authentic self. This guy is his true, authentic self. He's with EXP. He's my realtor. Christopher, can't wait to deep dive with this guy. Christopher, welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology.
Let's go. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Let's go.
Sorry about that ATV accident, but I'm glad you're here. You're well. And what's up, guys? What's going on?
Man, you know what? Just real quick, it was hilarious. We're like riding down on the beach, and next thing you know, I'm over there taking it out of four-wheel. Like, don't take it out of four, keep it in two-wheel. I'm taking it, put it in two-wheel, trying to do donuts. And Smith and I, we look over like, where did Dan go? He's walking up this hill, and we thought it was all flat. He's like walking up. He's like all like dizzy. And I'm like, oh my God, we went over to him. Like, you're okay, dude? Like, I had to push and flip the quad over, and then Smith had to fix the freaking antenna, and Dan's broke his visor. But yeah, we're glad.
Listen, I'll tell you honestly, I'm like, no jokes. The people that I know who ride ATVs, they flip over more than anything. Like, when I ask people, how was your trip? They're like, oh, one of us flipped over. So in my head, I'm like, I'm just not interested. You know, like I'm like the ratio of how many people flip over versus like enjoy the ride. It's just not sitting well with me. So I'm like, I'm just going to celebrate you guys. I'm glad you did it. Yet again, we have another flip over, but I am happy you're safe. So let's go.
Hey, viewers and listeners out there, ATV quad, yay or nay, it's up to you. So Christopher, let's deep dive into the beginning, man. So like how long you been in the business for, why the heck real estate, and where we're at today?
So I guess I'll answer that. I'll do the why the heck real estate, and then how long I've been in. So why real estate? Because when I was a young kid, I was 11 years old, and I'm like holding up sheetrock with my dad, right? My dad has like a few multi-families, he's like doing the landlord thing, and he's always counting, money and checks. And I'm like, what is this? I didn't understand the value of it or importance. And I was super annoyed holding up that sheetrock. See, something about him was
like, no shoulders.
Yeah. Something about him though was like, it was just, he would take care of it. He wasn't outsourcing. It wasn't like, and I think to an extent, it was building that bond. But, what I understood from that was it was planting something in me. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's power when something is planted in you, and it's just being watered in different ways. Yes, fast forward, what ended up happening for me is, I really just all roads led to the landlord world, led to like real estate. So, I got married. My wife and I were like, oh, we're going to hit 10 years. 9 years this year. Congrats. But, we got married. We were like, oh, we need a property. So our first property, we picked up a condo, and it was like a great, got it at a great price, great situation. And from there, it just triggered something. It was like, there's so much power in ownership. And can I tell you that the barrier for me personally to become a pre-approved buyer, like that journey
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was climbing Mount Everest. Like it was like, how do you own a property? You know, it felt so difficult
Yeah.
and impossible. And when I got that phone call for the pre-approval, it was just like
Let's
it was
go.
just like seeing me passing, my real estate exam, which I'll get to. So I ended up getting a job as a property manager or assistant property manager with a big property management firm in Boston. It was like 3,000 units. It was a lot of work. We did like accounting, different, everyone gives you different titles, but let's be honest, we know what the bulk of the work is. It was managing people and tenants. It's managing people, managing relationships. And so one thing I found to be interesting is that I kept having conversations about ownership with people and the power of it. And at this point, I had another multifamily that we acquired, and I'm like, ownership is important. There's leverage here. So that started this journey of how can I help people achieve ownership, kind of coach them through it, and then receive compensation. Because if I could be like a coach for ownership, which I believe that's what a real estate professional is to some extent.
I love that.
I would be that. And so, I just like, let's do it. Let's go get my license. And that's that journey. I have been licensed. I'm going on my 5th year of being licensed. Nice. As a real estate professional. Congrats. I did the property management thing about 7 years back, investing in property between 7 and 8. So chalk it up to 5 years licensed and about 7 in like understanding and owning stuff and things like that. So wow. But I love the industry. I love what it is. I love what it represents. There's an opportunity to help people own something and understand the leverage and power behind it. And in this business, you could deep dive as much as you want. I've helped commercial people achieve stuff with like that felt impossible. 18 months of waiting, zoning hearings, and all these things. And when we beat the case, or we got the approval, I was clapping like Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness. I'm like, yeah, like let's go. And then there's that person who they're just scraping money together. They have no down payment. And there's an assistance program, and bam, you're able to help them. This feeling is the same. So for me, what it does is it fires me up to help people. And at the core of who I am, at the core of my being, I want to genuinely just help people. I want to see you win. If you're winning, I'm happy. And so not only do I do real estate full time, we homeschool our kids. Wow. I'm a pastor at a church. It's work. Like it's work. There's work, but what feeds me and fuels me is continuing to serve people. That's the congruency here. Is I just want to serve people at the highest level.
Wow. Now it's adding up. The pastor thing is adding up for me. I'm like, that's why, because you have this thing about you that is very much servant's heart, and you're just very caring, charismatic, and that's awesome, man. So thank you for your service, for everything that you do with that. That's huge. Yeah. Are you building of course. Are you building your portfolio, like investment wise? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I guess for me, it's interesting, right? Like, I think, so we made a great decision on the condo, saw some amazing equity with that. We pulled the trigger on that, but we've learned in this journey, because that's the other part that no one talks about is you learn. Not every investment is the best investment for you. And it's not because of the house. It could just be dynamics. It could be, kind of like positioning, what it is you want to do, what you're trying to achieve. So we've learned along the way. So right now we've put that on pause. We haven't acquired more, because to be honest with you, where we're really thinking about it is how can we change, whole cities, neighborhoods, develop at a grand scale. And so I would just say for any developer who has a servant's heart like that, it's just a little more complex, because you need the right players and the right scenario and the right, situation to really roll that out. So, So patience is key right now. Patience is key, but soon enough we'll have some stuff to brag about.
That's awesome. That's super, super cool. No, and you and Dan, you're speaking Dan's language, because he's also an investor as well, and is going down that road, and then has his real estate license. And so that's awesome.
Love it. It's funny because you have a home, right? And you're walking through a showing, and people are like, if you're a real estate agent, don't try to be a home inspector, and we get it, right? It's
Yeah.
like we're not trying, but we know when something, if you've bought homes, you've rehabbed them, if you've done any of that, when so because I walk through a house and it's like I don't have it down to the skew in my head, but I take inventory and I'm like, oh, they're gonna need this. They're gonna, and I'm just doing the math in my head, like, okay,
Yes.
new roof is this, new roof, and I'm able to assess, from that moment personally, right? So because they're gonna ask me, is this a good decision or a bad decision?
Mhm.
I'm able to assess very conservatively, maybe what they could potentially be into for the home. And from there, I'm also able to see how much leverage they actually have of it being a good investment, bad investment. So it helps me. And people talk about doing a pro forma with like Excel, and you're able to see like, your percentages, what's actually coming in. Is it a good deal? So for me, I'm just about the good deal, right? I had a client come to me, hey, I want a 3-family. And if she's ever watching this, you'll laugh because she knows this. But the funny thing is, she was like, I want a 3-family, but I want the 3-family to have columns in the front, right? And I literally stopped the showing right there, and I pulled her to the corner. I said, look, we need to have a conversation. You told me when you hired me that what you wanted was to make money and make good investments. I'm like, columns or not, my job is to get you the investment that you need, the return that you're looking for. So can we agree that columns or not, you're gonna pull the trigger? Yep. She laughed and she was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And at that moment, I was like, it's funny. Like sometimes we get caught up on the aesthetic when we're starting out, and we miss out on opportunity. So it's the short view versus the perspective. I think one of the things that I'll credit him, because that's where I heard it from, but TD Jakes, he spoke on like the perspective of a turtle and a giraffe, and how the turtle is like, whoa, like, look at this grass, and like, you can't go ahead. And the giraffe is like, are you kidding me? Like, there's so much more. There's so much more. And so,
love that.
That's our job as real estate professionals to provide that. But go ahead, back to you.
I love that, man.
I can ramble on.
I love that. And just, for relatability wise, like my wife and I, we bought our home, and there's a lot of stuff that, moving ready. No, it wasn't. And there's so many things that need to be done. We're 2 years in, we're still trying to get the house finished and done, and there's fixtures and lights and this and that. And so I definitely agree with you for sure. And I love that because, sometimes if like viewers and listeners out there, it's like, you can't let your emotions run wild. It's like, you have to look at the numbers and keep it simple, and what's coming in, what's going out. So I definitely agree for sure. So last two questions before I give it to Dan is that it looks like, are you growing your team on your Instagram right now? It's behind me. You can go ahead and actually follow Christopher down below, but it looks like you're expanding the EXP team, huh?
Yeah. So it's so interesting. Like again, right? I used to co-own a brokerage. I guess that's the part I didn't talk about here with you, and maybe that's critical.
No bragging, but
yeah. Guys, it took me 11 tries to pass my real estate exam. Oh, wow. And the day that I passed, they ran out. I used to look at the printer to see what color, blue was passing, white was failing, that color paper. They ran out of the passing paper the day I passed, and I'm looking at the printer and I'm like, oh man, and they were like, congratulations. And I promise you, my heart was full, all of this. But the reason I say that to you is because I was like, you know what, I'm going to go hard. I finally, got this. I'm going to go hard. Let's go. And, I went, and for the beginning, I didn't get the deals I thought I would get. And then everything started to culminate like all together, just, because I kept showing up, just going hard, like, oh, the opportunities are there. I can do this. I can do this. And it was I was full time. I was thrown into the ringer because in faith, I was like, hey, I can't work this job. I need to do real estate, and pretty soon my wife and I were going to start gift card hustling. I don't know about you guys, but people give you gift cards, we don't spend them. But when you finally reach a point in your financial circumstance, you might need to spend that, you might need to go to that grocery store with that gift card. So it was, it was funny because it was that journey. It was like, oh, what are we going to do? And then things just started falling together. And the owner of the brokerage that I was at, super nice, super, abundant with his thinking. I started just, crushing it. I'm, closing as many deals as I can a month, just going, not putting my head down. It wasn't about the numbers. It was just like, let's go. And out of nowhere, he's like, hey, I want to offer you co-ownership of the brokerage. Damn. And I'm like, what? Yeah, here, this is what it would cost to, to play and all that. And I'm like, let's do it. There was 30 agents. And now it was like this opportunity for mailbox money and then me do deals and we could grow this. And here's what I would say is that it was a blessing for many reasons. And it was a lesson for other reasons. And what I want to harp on is the lesson. Sometimes you want something so bad, a position so bad that you can prematurely arrive there without the depth of what you fully want to, expand on and give of yourself. Because you can only give what you can give. You can't give beyond that. But if you're overflowing with information and you got it, then you're good. And so what I felt was like, I hit a point where if I'm at the position where I need to give, when I feel like I still need to receive, then I have to figure out, I have to make a critical decision here. And so I during the pandemic, Clubhouse showed up and I met up with my brother German and Juan and Eric. But German, Juan, we opened up a space. German opened up a room called the Good Morning Real Estate. And little did I know that would be the beginning of something that would cultivate a relationship that now you see front facing is, tribal agent real estate all day, the whole EXP thing. And so we were serving people completely. It didn't matter what brokerage. I was at my brokerage, they were at theirs. We were just serving people every day on Clubhouse. Every day, just serving people. Says, hey, this is what you could do. This is what you could do. This is that resource, this resource. Here's a PDF. We took notes and we were running it almost like if it was a school, like a community, a community. And here's the thing. What made it special was that, you have someone like, Glenda Baker saying this space is just completely special. Like I feel vulnerable and safe here. Like it's a great space. You have people who, came and hang out, who are doing things that, we would consider as thought leaders in the space of real estate. Wow. Massive brokerage owners, they would just come to hang out. And none of this was recorded. It was just like a space. It was showing up. And the reason I bring this up to you is because what we found was that there is a gift when you are of a servant's heart. There's an opportunity to truly cultivate something. Yes. So at that moment, I was at a crossroads of a difficult decision, because what I realized is that I couldn't give more of what I really wanted to the people I was serving locally. But I wanted to give them more. And I had to ask myself a critical question, ego aside, pride aside, success aside. Yeah. For the future, what is something that will help them, help me, help them, just all of that. What is something that is a true resource and abundant? Yeah. And when I looked at the EXP model, I wrestled with it because unfortunately, the front facing thing for many is like, oh, you guys just recruit. And so the problem with that is that if you're not willing, you really don't look at the deep value of what it truly is. Yeah. And what it is it's groundbreaking. It's powerful. It allows me to partner up with people globally. It allows them to succeed in their business. Tools that I know the expense of because of brick and mortar, because I know how expensive they are. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. But the problem is some people are slower to move. They still feel like, oh no, this is a fad. Yeah. This is, and here we are, 80,000 agents, almost 1,000 agents a week. And the reason I feel like it's going to only grow is because it's going to start to click to people. its function. Like, oh, wait a second, collaboration is the future. Oh, wait a second, abundance, stock, all these things is the future. What happens when Elon Musk tries to buy EXP? Because the guy's buying everything, right? I'm just being funny here. But what I'm saying is, when you have so much robust technology and you're willing to lean into that, you can be very resourceful. So I found congruency with what we were creating in Clubhouse, because it wasn't premeditated. It was just beautiful. And I'm like, man, wait a second. I really like hanging out with these guys, and I feel like I'm being poured into, they're being poured into. This works. Yeah. And so we made a decision. I told my partner, hey, I'm done. And I gave that up. Wow. And we partnered up, and we were all at EXP, and we're trying to again bring that same presence of servitude, abundance. And then it's cool because we had this meetup in Sarasota, Florida, and we had a Levi Lasik. He's in Dallas, Texas. If you guys don't have him on, you should. But he's an EXP guy. Yeah. And we had a good conversation, and he was a speaker at the event. And we were having lunch, and I told him, like, this thing where we're like connecting and people are supporting each other, like there's power behind, there's absolute power behind this, because here's the thing. The old brokerage way is exclusivity. It ostracizes. It doesn't share. It's not abundant. And I like Jazz Thacker for this. He's in Canada. He says, my thought is you could give the whole playbook away. Whoever's going to do the work's going to do the work. It's not, it's no longer about this is our secret sauce. It's literally like whoever's going to do the work is going to do the work. You could go on YouTube right now, and literally, if you paid attention, you can make $1 million. You could probably make $10 million with the information that is out there on almost any subject. But it's a commitment and discipline. So I went tangent there, and I apologize. But really, the point I was trying to make is that making this move to EXP was bigger than just shifting to a brokerage because it was shinier or brighter. It's literally because it was congruent with building a community, a tribe. And so that's what we've done. And yes, it's growing. We're cultivating it. It's growing. We love it. And I'm excited for where we're headed,
That's huge. That's awesome. No, good for you. Congratulations on all that. And I know that a lot of your connections came from Clubhouse, so that's awesome. And then I saw that you have a link on your Instagram, so everyone could check that out and go to the YouTube channel. And you're just serving and supporting and helping. And I love that. And I can tell that you definitely have that servant's heart. So let's get into on that subject matter. Giving it off to Dan for the mix-up round, getting into more technology to serve our viewers and listeners of like, what are you doing to manage your business, grow your business, get yourself out there tech-wise to be able to maybe, I don't know, help someone out there. So Dan, go ahead and take away for our mix-up round.
Thanks, Norman. So I would say, what would be your first biggest technology lead generation tool that you're using right now to muster up business?
So right now, I would say that I am in between Instagram and a conversion to YouTube. And so I would say that, and I'll say this right here. I know people who 90% of their business is from Instagram, and they're closing 150 transactions a year. And so Instagram works, right? TikTok works, social media works. But what I like about YouTube that I think is almost unspoken is that the people who usually can buy, want to buy, they're going to YouTube in discovery, like they're typing in something. On Instagram, you're not necessarily typing in like, how do I invest in
filling in the question marks.
Correct. So I love that idea. And I love that there's data that can support how you roll something out. You can use supporting tools like TubeBuddy, just different things where you're able to really open it up and show people the power of what you do, what you want to do. And again, there's like 5 things that, I guess everyone struggles with it is it's, do people want to sit and watch this face? Do they want to watch me? I don't know. Maybe they do. What do I talk about? Is it gonna be a good topic? Is it gonna, who's gonna do my video editing? How do I get the graphics out? How do I make it, look right and all of this? And the other is, do I do vlogs? How long? How long should I be shooting, each piece on YouTube? And then lastly is, I don't have time. Like, it's consuming because content is a beast. And so what I've learned is, like, you need to batch content. You need to be intentional. You got to have a game plan. And what you do, if you have, I'll credit Juan with this, but again, there's books on everything that we're talking about. YouTube Mastermind, like there's a bunch of stuff that I think deserves all the credit because, they share this, but batching the content is critical. When you're starting off a YouTube channel, you should have more than one piece because you need time. You need that time leverage for you to develop new content. So if you can have, 5 pieces, 7 pieces, 8 pieces, 10 pieces, and you can have that ready to roll and deploy, you're buying yourself time. Because let's say you want to drop 1 piece of content a week, then now you have, 10 pieces. It helps. It helps keep you ahead. So YouTube is what I like to answer the question. What I have used in the past is really Facebook, phone calls, texting, and networking events. Those are like my pillars of my business. I love getting in front of people belly to belly. Let's have a conversation. I want to say 97% of my business was always referral-based business from past clients, or new clients, hey, I want to work with you. And again, it's just because leading with servitude, they never felt like they were being sold. And quite frankly, they weren't being sold. Houses sell themselves, but it made me feel happy when people call me like, hey, I have great equity on my home. That means we made a good decision there on your behalf. So, I hope that answered that.
It did. Definitely. And the last question for me really is, where do you, if there was a new agent that was going to come on board with your team, like, what type of technology and marketing advice would you give them? Doesn't have to be a long story about anything that is particular, but, what technology would you say, hey, you need to start doing now?
Yeah. So right away, I would say, first of all, here's your onboarding plan, right? And I do believe in the integration to the brokerage, specifically EXP. I do believe if they do the fast start series, I think that'll be helpful for them. If they've never done a transaction, I think if they align with a mentor, those things will truly help them fundamentals. Cause that's the thing is like, sometimes they do the whole, like, oh, let's jump into like the lead generation. But if you don't know how to manage a deal, if you crumble under pressure, if you can't talk someone off a ledge, you're going to fail in this business. You're going to think this business isn't for you. So there's a lot of fundamentals that I think sometimes we overlook. So I would say fundamentally, double down on what your brokerage can do, what they could do to support you. That technology is huge. So with EXP specific, you have a CRM, you have KV Core, it gives you an online website. You need a website. Branding is everything. So front-facing branding and then your interior work. So what we do is we'll do the onboarding, hey, work on your front-facing branding. And we try to cut through all of the noise because when you have such a robust platform, you could get caught up in like EXP University, Icon Series, you can go and it's like, no, let's focus right here. Let's get it. Let's just build it brick by brick and then tailoring it to who that individual is, because ultimately you have people who have massive influence. So they would be great on camera, but they need to work through that, like, the mental hurdle of, okay, let me jump on camera. What does that look like? So what we do is we tailor it and we make them own the decisions. I heard Sheplack say this, like, the moment you tell someone like what they should do, you own what they do. And it's like, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because it's true. It's like, it's almost like, oh, what should I do? It's like, oh, you should do YouTube. And now it feels like you're telling them. So what we try to do is lay out what works and what has proof and evidence behind it, and kind of guide people to that
Love
direction.
Yeah. No, well, that's all good information, and I'll pass it back to Norm. I appreciate you sharing that, and a lot of good insight about how to use the self-guided tour, right, to let them move in the direction that they feel comfortable and what strong suits their personality and effort.
I love
it. And the tech is powerful. I mean, this is now more than ever. There's like no excuse. There's so many tools out there. It is abundant. It's awesome. So
I love that.
Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking on that mix-up round. And it sounds like, just to kind of unpack that really quick, having a good brand on the front end, having good tools behind the scenes, and then thinking about pretty much how do you batch content, go on YouTube, fill content, and maybe that could be around ideal area, buyer, or client type. Those are maybe some good ideas for any viewers and listeners out there that can really help you. It sounds like EXP has a really cool opportunity to be able to put you through an acceleration program that's going to accelerate you to have success through that process. And let's quickly touch on the last couple of things I have before we open up the floor for you to close out today's show. Is let's touch really quick. So you did the so Servant's Heart, you set up, you did Clubhouse, and then you set up and you started this like podcast. And I see a link here, and it goes out to this podcast. It's basically all day real estate. Now, indirectly,
real estate all day. People
real estate all day.
Do that. Yeah.
Real estate all day. I was like trying to read the logo.
No, it happens all the time. Yep. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yep. So after doing that, Christopher, now what has happened with being a servant's heart, also being a pastor? Like, what sort of business have you seen from this because of just you showing up in the world with these things that you've been doing?
Yeah. So the leverage has been that we have, honestly, like it's blown up. It's one of those things like our Facebook, we have a Facebook community as well. Yeah. It's a real estate all day Facebook. We're 3,000 members, over 60,000 impressions. With Clubhouse, we have 7,000 members. And what you find, it's not the numbers. It's just, I only say that to say that organically, this is literally within the last 2 months, we're being loud about our activity.
Love it.
But again, fundamentally, we've been building the depth for some time. And so what I can say to you is that things are looking up, man. They look really good from a financial standpoint. We're growing, we're succeeding. Our agents are hitting icon. Got some luxury agents. Like it's just I'm blown away. That's all I can say. I'm blown away, and I think that from from our goals, like what our actual goals are, we're not where we want to be. And I love that feeling because of the same reason I shared earlier of not being where we want to be, before, head down, do the fundamentals. We have big goals. We have scary goals that hurt people's stomachs. But what we did was we took a 10-year goal, reverse engineered it. And I could tell you this, we're trending in the right direction 1,000%. So I'm excited about our momentum, where we're headed, where we're going. And this is only the beginning in essence. But we did a lot of that fundamental work that some people just don't do. And I'm thankful to God for it, because it really allowed for us to have, foundation, something that is really solid that people can stand on.
I love that, man. That's awesome. Good for you. And we're excited to be a part of that success. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Everyone can check you out, and down below, go to your socials and be able to subscribe to y'all's podcast as well. And so I'm going to change up the camera angle now, Christopher, put it on you. And what would you like to leave for our viewers and listeners as we end today's podcast?
Yeah. So I would say this, if you're watching, number one, show these gentlemen some love, because they always bring the value, right? And they're always intentional. They're always looking for ways to magnify you in the subtle and in the actual conversation. So I just, to me, that's huge. That's first and foremost.
Appreciate that.
Secondly, I would say that no matter where you are, your light bill past due, about to cut off your electricity, or you just hit your 50th transaction or your 100th transaction, or whatever, no matter where you are, be human first. Don't be so transactional. It's one life. It's one life. If you're too transactional, I promise you in moments when you need to feel alive and free, you might not, because everything is habitually a transaction. And that's a dangerous place to live. So enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the journey, because what you're going to find is, think about anything else in your life. It's specific to this real estate business, but think about anything else in your life. You wanted to get to that thing, you got it, and what happened? It's not like you stopped and sat your feet up and said, oh, I'm here, I'm good. That's not what happened. Even when people retire, that's not what happened. What we do is we live for the journey. So live for yours, live it full, live it abundantly, go crush your goals. And every day is an opportunity to start again, start something new. Maybe you failed, maybe you learned, whatever have you, but start anyway, just go crush it. I believe in you, and I'm very happy to be on this space with you, with Liftoff, and what you guys do. It's incredible. So That's my final thought, man.
Wow. First off, Christopher, we're going to say you're the second guest in the history of the show to give us kudos. So thank you so much for that, because we never like stroke our egos or like, hey, like we don't even really plug much. We don't even say, hey, buy our merch or anything. It's mainly just to show up for our viewers and listeners to give back to this industry. So we really appreciate your time. God bless you. And thank you so much for showing up today. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Yeah, no, like, follow, subscribe. Let's go.
Right,
Lift off. Boom.
Let's go. Dan Gandy, as always, thanks you for co-hosting.
Thank you guys, man. This has been a pleasure.
And
thank you guys.
And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners, as it is our intention for you to take things that you learned from our episode today to apply to your business, have more massive success. We appreciate you. Now's the time to comment below. What did you learn? What did you take from today's episode? And we will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching Real Estate vs. Technology, this week's brand new episode, and making it to the end, your real one. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified for new episodes that come out every single week on Fridays at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Also, if you comment on this episode and you like the episode, you'll help this episode get out to more individuals. And if you want to join our Facebook group page, just click a link. It's a Facebook icon on our profile page here on our YouTube channel. Join our group page, network with individuals all across the world, and share what technology you're using to grow your business. The next link is to join our Real Estate vs. Technology brand new IG or Instagram page. If you go on any of our stories, you can see who's going to be on Real Estate vs. Technology before it actually goes live on our YouTube channel. And the last link would be if you want to be on an episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. You pick a date and a time. We'll deep dive into your story and technology you're using to share that with other individuals that view our episodes weekly, to inspire, enlighten, show up, and show out for people that love to watch these type of podcasts to have more success in their own business. Thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. We will see you on the next one.